fourth grade. Today we're going to work on changing improper fractions back to mixed numbers. So if you look here on my board, each of these blue pieces is 1/3, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 thirds. I want to change 7 thirds into a mixed number. So I know that I need 3 thirds for each whole. So there's 1, there's 2, and 1/3. So 7 thirds equals 2 and 1/3 if I change it back to a mixed number. Okay, let's take another one. Let's say each of these squares is 1/4. 1/4, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. 5/4. I want to change that to a mixed number. Okay, so I put 4 together, that makes 1. Because I know since they're fourths, I have to have 4 to make a whole. So that's 1 and 1/4, because I have 1 left over, and each piece is 1/4. So 1 and 1/4. That's what 5/4 is. Okay, let's look here at my halves. Here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 halves. I know that I need 2 halves to make a whole. So there's 1 whole, 2 wholes, and 1 left over. So 5 halves equals 2 and 1/2. Okay, what if I just had 4 halves? 4 halves, I can see that 4 halves equals 2. 4 halves equals 2. Okay, now these green ones are sixths, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 sixths. And I want to change that to a mixed number. Since they're sixths, I know that I need 6 of them to make a whole. So for every 6, I have a whole. Okay, there's 1 whole, 6 sixths. Okay, and then here's, I get 6 more to make another whole. So there's 2 wholes, and then I have 2 left over. So 14 sixths equals 2 and 2 sixths. Okay, there's another way to do it without using a model. That's the way we do it with a model. But if you remember on page 174, when you changed your mixed numbers to improper fractions, like for instance 3 halves, no, I'm sorry, when you changed your mixed numbers, when you had 1 and 1/2, when you changed that to an improper fraction, you said 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. 3 halves. Well, now if I want to change this back to a mixed number, I multiplied to change it to an improper fraction, and the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So in order to change 3 halves back to a mixed number, I divide. So remember, a fraction is a division problem anyway. This is 3 divided by 2. So I asked myself, how many times will 2 go into 3? Well, look, if I can even write it as a division problem. 2 goes into 3 1 time. 1 times 2 is 2, and I have 1 left over. Instead of saying 1 remainder 1, I'm going to say I have 1 and then 1 left over, which is a half. Because if I get out my 3 halves, okay, I put 2 of them together to make a whole. Okay, and then this 1 that's left over is a half. My denominator is half, so 1 and 1/2. 3 halves is 1 and 1/2. Let's take them like this. 34 fifths. Let's try it as a fraction. 34 fifths. Okay, in order to change that to a mixed number, I need to divide. That's why I was doing the division problem like this. I need to think, how many times will 5 go into 34? Well, I know it will go 6 times, because 6 times 5 is 30, with 4 left over. So it's 6 whole with 4 left over, and these are fifths. 4 fifths. You don't have to write all this. You can do this divided in your head, hopefully. Okay, so if I have, say I have 19 thirds, I ask myself, how many times will 3 go into 19? Well, I know that 6 times 3 is 18. So we'll go 6 times, And since 6 times 3 is 18, I have 1 left over. So 6 1/3. All right, what if I have 29 fourths? Okay, I know that 4 will go into 29 7 times because 7 times 4 is 28. So there's 1 left over, 7 1/4. All right, what about 63 eighths? Well, 8 times 8 is 64, so it won't go in 8 times, almost. It'll go in 7 times with 7 left over. 7 7/8. So you're going to do workbook page 174. You've already done the top part. So you're just going to finish the page 10 through 18. So in 10 through 15, you're writing the improper fractions as a mixed number. Remember, you just divide. So the first one, number 10, says 4/3. Change 4/3 to a mixed number. You say, how many times will 3 go into 4? Well, it goes 1 time with 1 left over. 1 1/3. So that's number 10. Then you have 2 word problems, and then write about it. So numbers 10 through 18 on page 174.